Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines. Officials say Iraqi government forces seized large areas of the town of Beiji, home to Iraq's biggest oil refinery, from IS fighters. Yemen swears in a new government despite objections from the ruling party led by the former president and allied rebels who control the capital. US Secretary of State meets with Iranian Foreign Minister and European Union advisor in the Omani capital Muscat to limit Iran's nuclear program. And the people of Catalonia in northeastern Spain vote today in a disputed and non-binding poll on independence. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah received at Sif Palace this morning His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah. His Highness the Emir also received His Excellency the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem. His Highness then received at Sif Palace today His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Emir later received His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni of Cambodia on his country's National Day. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni of Cambodia on his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable of congratulations. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah received at his Diwan in Sif Palace today His Excellency the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem. His Highness then received His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al-Mbarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister. His Highness the Crown Prince then received His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. His Highness also received His Excellency the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah. His Highness then received His Excellency the Deputy Premier and Minister of Defence Sheikh Khalid Al-Jarrah Al-Sabah. His Highness also received His Excellency the Deputy Premier and Minister of Commerce and Industry Dr. Abdul Muhsin Mid'ij Al-Mid'ij. His Highness the Crown Prince then received His Excellency the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Sabah Al-Salim Al-Hmoud Al-Sabah. Finally, His Highness the Crown Prince received His Excellency the Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah Al-Mbarak Al-Sabah. His Excellency the First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah met in Muscat, Oman today with the Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs in the Sultanate of Oman, Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, where they discussed aspects of cooperation among the GCC member states in addition to the latest developments in the region and on the international arenas. The First Deputy Premier and Minister of Foreign Affairs held talks in Riyadh earlier with the Saudi Foreign Minister His Royal Highness Prince Saud Al Faisal, which focused on cooperation among GCC member states and other issues of mutual interest. Israeli authorities confiscated over 3,000 acres of land in a Palestinian village north of Jerusalem, condemned by the PLO, which urged the international community to describe Israel as a non-peace partner. Fatma Abdel Karim has more in this report from Ramallah.
Along with the heightening tension in Jerusalem and the West Bank, the Palestinian diplomatic campaign at the United Nations corridors heightens as well, with the Palestinian decision to head to the Security Council and more international organizations as soon as possible. However, this is not the only decision the Palestinian leadership is ready to take. President Abbas told his PLO officials in a special meeting today that he is ready to take a new step into negotiations brokered by the U.S. to end the Israeli occupation on territories occupied in 1967.
So far, the recent communique with the U.S. administration didn't yet yield a full plan, so we are still trying to find an open horizon for the peace process. But we are also resorting to the Security Council to issue a resolution that will end the occupation on 1967 borders within a definite time frame.
The explosive situation in Jerusalem threatens to escalate further, with more incursion plans by extremist settlers being underway, according to analysts. The Palestinians believe Israel is trying to pave the way to the time and space division of the Holy Aqsa Mosque between Muslims and Jews, which is a threat the Palestinian Authority has been warning from and calling for international community to step in to save the situation further deterioration. Nevertheless, the situation continues to boil without serious interventions.
All these Israeli measures that are being implemented in Jerusalem is simply to try to settle the account of Jerusalem on the ground and not on the negotiating table. The Israelis have a program for the full Judaization of Jerusalem. From our side, we are taking the issue to the United Nations. We appeal to the Arab Muslim countries to take the issue of Jerusalem seriously, because what Israel is also intending to do is to divide the Al-Aqsa Mosque time-wise, space-wise.
The Palestinian leadership finds itself at a new crossroads again, seeking international political support at the United Nations Security Council and at the table of negotiations, in the fear with more turbulences on the ground. Fatma Abdul Karim, Kuwait TV, Ramallah, Palestine.
Officials said today that Iraqi government forces seized large areas of the town of Beji, home to Iraq's biggest oil refinery, from IS militants. They said the troops controlled about 50% of the town, about 200 kilometers north of the capital, Baghdad. A U.S. defense official said that coalition strikes had targeted a gathering of IS leaders near Mosul in northern Iraq, destroying a convoy of vehicles. However, it couldn't be confirmed whether IS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was present at the time of the attack late on Friday. IS supporters have denied that their commander was there. IS-led militants took Beji in June in one of their earliest victories, but didn't capture the refinery. They do, however, control large areas of Iraq and Syria. Yemen has sworn in a new government despite objections from the ruling party led by former President Ali Abdullah Saleh and allied rebels who control the capital. 30 ministers were sworn in today, while another 3 rejected their appointments and 3 others were outside Yemen. All Yemeni parties and political groups eventually agreed on an independent technocrat cabinet yesterday. Meanwhile, rebels rejected the newly formed cabinet, demanding instead a reshuffle to dismiss members they consider unqualified or corrupt. This comes as the Central Committee of the General People's Congress dismissed President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi from his posts as President and Secretary General of the party, accusing him of soliciting UN sanctions against Saleh and 2 rebel commanders. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met today with Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif and European Union advisor Catherine Ashton in the Omani capital Muscat. They were scheduled to hold high-level negotiations to limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for easing crippling sanctions on the Islamic Republic's economy. Kerry said that real gaps between Tehran and world powers still exist in the negotiations ahead of the November 24th deadline for a comprehensive deal on the program. But the U.S. remains hopeful that a deal can be brokered in what would mark a major foreign policy success for the Obama administrations. Negotiators from Britain, China, France, Germany and Russia are expected to join the final round of talks starting on the 18th of November in Vienna. Shelling resumed today in the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk, just hours after an intense artillery bombardment throughout the night. The overnight shelling was the worst in more than a month, lasting almost 8 hours. The fighting comes a day after monitors saw a large number of military vehicles in rebel areas. Ukraine says it thinks the rebels get equipment from Russia. Moscow denies this, although in the past it has said that Russian soldiers on leave were fighting among the rebels. More than 4,000 people have died since fighting erupted in April after pro-Russian separatists seized control in the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. A fragile ceasefire has been in place since September 5th, although hundreds of people have been killed since then. The people of Catalonia in northeastern Spain are voting today in a disputed and non-binding poll on independence. The Spanish judiciary has ruled the vote unconstitutional, but Catalan leader Artur Mas warned against any attempt to disrupt it. Spain's constitutional court suspended earlier plans for a referendum on secession. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy said that the vote would have no effect and urged the region to return to sanity. Voters will be asked whether they want a Catalan state and whether the state should be independent. More than 40,000 voters are helping to set up and run the informal exercise. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that the fall of the Berlin Wall that used to divide the German capital showed us that dreams can become reality. Speaking at the opening ceremony of a new exhibition centre as part of celebrations marking the 25th anniversary of the night the Berlin Wall fell, Merkel said Germans will never forget that the movement for freedom and democracy in mid- and Eastern European states prepared the way for the happiest moment of our recent history. Merkel led celebrations today, calling the fall of the Berlin Wall an example of the human yearning for freedom and honouring those who helped bring down the barrier that for 28 years divided the city. The Berlin Wall was built in 1961 to stop people fleeing from communist East Germany to the west. Its fall in 1989 became a powerful symbol of the end of the Cold War. Merkel honoured the many who suffered under the communist regime, including the 138 people who died at the wall. The British Council, the UK's international organisation for educational opportunities and cultural relations, held its annual Education UK exhibition at the Regency Hotel. The exhibition was officially opened by Ambassador Matthew Lodge, the British Ambassador to Kuwait, Grant Butler, Director of British Council Kuwait, and from the Ministry of Higher Education, Mr. Rashid Al-Nuahed. Exhibitors provided the latest information on study opportunities in the United Kingdom, including the wide range of subject fields and levels of study that are available. Potential students were informed on the opportunity to find out all they need to know about the GCSEs, A-levels, foundation courses, English language courses, career-based diplomas, first degree and postgraduate degree courses. More on this with our reporter Ghenwa Jabouri.
Higher education in the UK is known for its excellence and ability to provide students with a multitude of benefits. UK degree courses are seen throughout the world as being among the very best, with the UK ranking second in the world in international research collaboration and teaching partnership.
And the good thing about the UK is that we have some of the best educational institutions in the world. Because the UK is such a global country, the perspective that is on offer is very wide. We're able to offer people not only a world-class education, but also a diverse and dynamic, vibrant society to come and be a part of. And for Kuwaitis particularly, where there are such strong links between the UK and Kuwait, there's also, I think, an understanding that's there between Britons and Kuwaitis. So it means there's a particular welcome on offer.
The UK has for long been a favoured overseas study destination for Kuwaiti nationals and residents. It is estimated that more than 3,500 Kuwaiti students are currently pursuing their studies in the UK.
Education in the United Kingdom, as the Ambassador says, offers a lot in terms of quality of teaching, quality of relationships with industry, employability for people. So there's a lot that we can offer Kuwait in that sense. And our role here is to bring those institutions to the people here in Kuwait and give people the chance to engage directly with these institutions. These institutions, as they've told us, it's not just about selling the UK, it's about learning and understanding what the people of Kuwait want, listening to that, taking it back and presenting an offer that's relevant here and in other countries in the world.
England is a very large area for education of very good quality throughout the world. And one thing about Plymouth is a one of the key areas for marine engineering and mechanical engineering. Marine is the big theme down in Plymouth, and we're one of the biggest marine universities in the UK. Last year we were actually awarded the Queen's Award for marine education, so marine is key to what we do. We've been having students coming up today and asking all sorts of courses on marine courses, but also robotics, which we're also a world expert on, and civil engineering is another area where we're world experts on. So these are some of the things that we're doing.
The exhibition brought together 38 of the top UK universities, colleges and English language providers to meet with potential students and visitors to discuss the extensive choice of courses on offer by institutions at every academic level. Today's innovative exhibition has been brought to the community as an initiative to promote and encourage education in the United Kingdom by introducing some of England's finest universities, colleges and institutions. From the Regency Hotel, I'm Genwa Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
The main indices of the Kuwait Stock Exchange settled in the green zone upon closing today's session. The price index closed up by 48.1 points to 7,181 points, while the weighted index and the Kuwait 15 indexes closed up by 1.75 points and 4.21 points respectively. The number of trades amounted to 3,284 transactions worth 16 million Kuwaiti dinars, with 132 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. Officials say Iraqi government forces seized large areas of the town of Beji, home to Iraq's biggest oil refinery, from IS militants. Yemen swears in a new government despite objections from the ruling party led by the former president and allied rebels who control the capital. The US Secretary of State meets with Iranian Foreign Minister and European Union advisor in the Omani capital Muscat to limit Iran's nuclear program. And the people of Catalonia in northeastern Spain vote today in a disputed and non-binding poll on independence. Thank you for joining us.